Yeah.
Yeah. Great, I'm admitting.
Okay, cool. Should I go through those images too? Should I go through that quickly at some point?
Yeah, we'll start sharing the screen when it feels good, right, everyone?
It's like, it's nice to have like just images kind of just like scrolling through. There's like a lot of them, and I feel like, I can't like talk about all of them individually, but like as I'm talking about the things, it's
Yeah.
probably good just to
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
that.
Here we are. We're ready to go. We've got Dana Robinson here for the Artfare weekly live virtual studio visit / interview. Hey, there she is. We're really fortunate to have you tonight, Dana. And I'm Carolina Weed. I'm curator at Artfare, and we've been hosting these since the lockdown, and getting folks on a Thursday night to continue talking about art, looking at art, and being in a space where we might have been at openings. And that was always our objective. And so now let's make this the Dana Robinson opening.
Hi, I'm Dana. I'm an artist. I was born in New York. I grew up in St. Petersburg, Florida, and I went to undergrad. I did my undergrad at Florida State University. I got a degree in graphic design because I didn't want to learn how to draw and paint because I was just like really bad at that. And graphic design allowed me to be able to do like work with web, like web design, digital design, bookmaking, printmaking, just basically anything that I wanted to do. So having that freedom to just like be a visual problem solver in the context of working with other people's ideas was just something that was very attractive to me, and still is. Like I work as a graphic designer. That's like my bread and butter. So I do that, and I make a lot of art, which you could see some of it behind me.
Yes, you were talking a little bit earlier about art with a capital A.
Yeah.
And and when I was writing just a little intro for folks to be more enticed by you and your background through the promotional campaign through Artfare, I was realizing I was just diving deep into your website and the amount of work that you do at the capacity of both or all of, this multi-dimensional practice that is really, graphic design, as you said, is your bread and butter, yet working for other people and working for other ideas, and then bringing in your own ideas into your work. That's a really nice harmony that you're negotiating right now. And it kind of, I said something along the lines like you're a Renaissance woman because even though it's all very creatively incorporated, sometimes the line between graphic design and fine art is contentious, but really I think for us that understand how harmoniously they go together.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say like that they're the same thing, but I think that they can serve like very similar functions. One's very internal, the other one's very external. Like for the public, but I don't know. Yeah, but I guess all of my work kind of goes in and out of art and design, and I think because of that, I'm really just like, I'm not afraid of using different materials or trying different things to just like solve whatever problem arises or whatever problem I see in the world or whatever question I have. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, it is always about asking questions. When I was working more with students and less emerging artists, mid-career artists, those students that were aspiring to be, they thought that they had to put themselves in a box between design or art, and that introspective / extra, the the external portion of graphic design and helping other people solve their visual communication problems is often a question you can ask yourself as an artist, and whether it's composition or color or text versus image, or, you know, how do we visually communicate our ideas through the work. And I guess I went on this little digression in relationship to what you said about curiosity or questioning, or this idea that when folks look at work, you want to embed some sort of meaning. And you're looking at and have folks ask questions, right?
Yeah.
Like your work is highly
how it's made, you know, like very basic questions.
Your work is highly representational too at times. You're using the figure, you're using different symbols and objects and stuff. I know you were, well, we were talking a little bit before about some of the concepts within your experience as a grad student and Black excellence. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about that and maybe show a little work in relationship to that.
Yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, I was invited by LaTanya Allen, one of my classmates at SVA, to be a part of this talk about being Black at SVA. And during this talk, it came up about how, just like how were we able to get into grad school? Like, because out of all the grad schools, out of all like the art schools in like New York, in the city, there's really not that many Black people at all. It's like we all know each other. And it's just a really interesting situation to be in, because I've been having to battle through school for my entire life, and the amount of work that you have to do to get to the point where you're able to get a graduate degree as a Black person, it's like you have to put up with so much endless shit. It's like wild. It's so wild. And it just takes I guess it takes a toll, but also it's like I guess striving to be at that level, it's like a way of like survival, I'd say, but it's also kind of like an unrealistic like way of functioning in the world sometimes. Like why can't we just be mediocre? You know, because during this talk we were going in on some people in our classes about how it's like you just don't see them. We didn't see them. Like the studios were empty until like, you know, a week before
Crit.
A week before Crit, and it was just really interesting. But I started making work. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. I started making work around this. Oh wait, how do I get out of this? So I started making work around this using different images from Ebony magazines. So I work a lot with these magazines. They're these vintage magazines from they're like between like the 1950s and like the 1970s, and the pictures inside them just have these very these very stylized versions of living, and I would say that they're like the models of being Black and like having like Black excellence. So I think it's really amazing, because I wrote this down. I guess I'm still trying to like process through like what these works are about, but it's just really interesting the way that in the pages of the magazines, let me think. Just like the way that like Black people were able to transform like what's given to us into something completely different that lives outside of like the white standard of living. That's, I don't know, that's incredible. But also, it's like, what if, I don't know, what if that's not always possible? Like, what if like you aren't able to do that for whatever reason? Does that make you like less than? Does that make you, you know, like a bad person? Like no, it shouldn't, and I don't think it does. But I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent here. I'm not too sure exactly like how to process these works quite yet. But
The idea of beauty, I think, is partially this concept of the subjectivity of beauty, you know, and in terms of Ebony magazine in the 70s, it feels as if the work is highly stylized, and you know, you're encapsulating some of these images, yet also I'm really curious about your process here. Like, what are you working on? These are paintings / collages. Like, what's the paper? What's the paper you're using? Like, what are your materials in these works?
so I'm using, of course, the collage, gouache. I'm using acrylic paint, also like globs of acrylic paint, and gold leaf, and also spray paint, yeah, on panel. So I'm using like all these different materials to create these works. And yeah, so that's what's happening in here.
And there's a type of relief I'm seeing in some of the paint applications. This pink almost seems to have some sort of, you know, raised attribute, or is that an effect that you're using?
Yeah, that it is raised. So okay, so like so essentially, what I do is so what I do with these works, how I get the paint to look like that is I paint on a piece of plastic. I wait for it to dry. I take the paint off, and then I paste it onto the panel exactly where I want it.
Nice.
So it's all kind of like collaged together, but it has like that kind of look of like, oh, like I'm just throwing this paint on here. But yeah, it's like very three-dimensional.
Where did you source the magazines? And you said it was at Essence or Ebony? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Ebony. Yeah. So I get them off of eBay. Oh. So I started using boxing magazines like a pretty long time ago. I found a lot of boxing magazines in a thrift shop, and those were like really interesting because just like seeing like people's bloody faces in print is just like, it's like, you don't really, that's like not something that, you know, you come across very often. So I like bought all of those up. But the thing is that they're very hard to relate to, and not something that like I can't connect to like fighting people. Like I'm not terribly violent. So I decided that Ebony magazine would be a more relatable publication for me to work from.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about Joe Louis and like Muhammad Ali, and I was thinking like, man, for me, like growing up, like I think I might have been more relatable to some of the boxing. I mean, Rocky. I mean, it's like growing up in the early like 70s, 80s, you know. So I can understand, but it's also very feminine, Dana, isn't it? Like to be working with an Ebony magazine.
Yeah.
Works have. You know, not to be too gender specific on the actual artwork because it has no gender, but it does feel as if the works are sensitive. The line quality and the composition and some of the representational elements you're collaging within the work, they do have a femininity to them. Would you do you hate that, or
no, I don't hate that at all. I mean, I think it's there, and I think it's like it's very present, because I really I feel like I work with very kind of difficult topics. So to create them in like a very, to like convey them in a very delicate way, I think is it's important, and it makes confronting these issues a lot easier for me to deal with.
I like that. That makes a lot of sense, because it also gives the audience a soft entryway.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like just, but also with this, I'm working with just these stereotypical like visions of Black like feminine beauty, and the ways that that level of beauty is it's also kind of like another version of beauty that is not necessarily inclusive, and it's hyper feminine, and it doesn't allow everybody, like all Black women, to be able to access it. So that's like another thing that I'm trying to, it's like a beauty that I want visible, and I respect it, but also I'm trying to take it apart and create my own version of this beauty from what I've been given.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I can fit into, something that other people can enter into.
They do feel as if you're, I mean, they're illustrative in a lot of ways. I mean, you know, there's collage, the paintings, there's a lot of, it's multimedia work. So if you wouldn't mind going just a little deeper into the kind of some of these amorphous line drawings versus some of the more representational symbols like pyramids, grids, fruit slice, almost an intestinal look. I mean, it's got such varying hands on the canvas. I wonder, you know, how you think of each of these symbols combining with the representational collages for the magazines.
So let me think about this. I feel like it has a lot to do with like the combinations of colors, and like the different feelings that I get from like these different just like sections of colors, and the connotations that arise because of these combinations. A lot of the times I'm like looking at other images, like looking at other artworks, other like magazines, and I'm taking like little bits and pieces from like the different things that I'm seeing, and I'm inserting like, you know, my favorite color combination into these works, or like a piece of a shadow, or a fold in a shirt.
Yeah, they're kind of floating around in this empty landscape-less or horizon-less canvas, and they have this chaos of floating around. They also feel kind of like ingredients going into a soup.
Yeah, they're kind of all in motion. Yeah.
All emotion makes a lot of sense. And you were talking a little bit about this feeling of what it's like to be in a graduate program for art, you know, in New York City alone, but obviously I think probably throughout the United States, as a Black woman, and how challenged that felt. Are these some of the works that came out of that, or did you have other kind of cathartic works that can speak to this understanding of working the excellence to work harder than everyone else, to be better than everyone else in order to be taken seriously.
Seriously, yeah. I would say, that this is not necessarily stemming like specifically from that experience. This is more stemming from, I guess, an observation that I've had, that I guess I, like, right now I have the tools to explore. And I would say, here, oh, I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna stop this.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
A-okay. I suppose like our experiences will always have a subconscious hand in the work that we create, right? So I may have asked a loaded question there.
Oh, no, I just wanted to stop sharing my screen because I feel like nobody can see my face anymore. So I'm just like, I don't know if people want to see the art or like, look at me or whatever, but I feel like, I'm talking to you and you can't see my face and whatever. So, but so the way that I look, the way that I've learned to look at, I guess a lot of situations is that I'm going to go into that situation and people aren't going to take me seriously. So I don't really need to spend my time. I don't want to spend my time and energy into trying to convince people that I'm serious.
Right.
Like, I went to school and I just did a lot of work. School was a continuation of the work that I was already doing before I got there. I treated going to SVA as like a 2-year residency program.
That's a great way to look at it. I mean, having to
Yeah.
pay for that though is also kind of like.
But I mean, it was really nice. Like, I had a studio with like 2 huge windows, and it was like in the middle of like Chelsea or whatever, and it was like nice. But yeah, it was a lot.
It is luxury, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I like the way that you put that, because you found it to be more like a residency. Did you find community? I'm not trying to, disparage SVA at all or any other schools in New York or abroad, that MFAs, but
honestly, I'm not very good at making friends at school. So I made friends with somebody that was in the class before me, a few people in the class that was before me, and then like a few people in the class that was after me. Like, I had like no friends, which was fine, because I'm always a person that like, I don't want to necessarily be friends with people because they're right there, like, I go out, I look for my friends. It's like, I find my people and those are my people, and it's not because of like proximity. So yeah, I didn't have like community, but in school, but I had community, like in New York.
Right. Well, that makes a difference. I mean, I think a lot of folks that are encouraged or recruited to go to grad school.
I think I'm losing you.
Uh-oh.
What
Yeah. I didn't want to belabor the topic of grad school per se, yet the grad school conundrum of, do I need this credential in order to make it in the art world, versus going to grad school to develop a community of people that I can further call my colleagues, or I can be, I think you have frozen.
Oh, wait, am I?
Yeah.
You're a little frozen too. Oh no. Okay, I think you're back now.
No. But you can hear me, right? Oh, there you are.
I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess it's just like this idea of what you take from grad school, or why people choose to go to grad school. And again, I know this conversation is a little tangential in relationship. I still want to talk about your scarves and those paintings behind you, all the things. But, you know, it just feels like there is momentum right now for folks to question whether or not earning the credential of grad school or even a BFA is a valuable asset for our movement forward as artists, or our validation for being an artist. And you know, throw out all this money to have the credential. Do you want it for the community, or do you want it for the experience? Do you want it for the credential? You know, and so, and there's other things.
Grad school was a good amount of time. That's the thing. I feel like that's what I was paying for. I was paying for to have like a very concentrated amount of time to make work. Because I would never, ever would have been able to have that amount of time to make the work.
Yeah, sure.
I would not be making the work that I'm making now if I didn't go to grad school, because I had no time to focus on it. It would have taken me 10 years to make the work that I'm making now. Well,
were you working during grad school? Were you doing your graphic design stuff and working for clients, or doing freelance stuff, or?
Kind of. I was working, I had like a couple of, like a few jobs and internships during school, just because, you know, it's like people are like, oh, if you have like a gap on your resume, it's like, even if I'm going to school, it's like, I'm going to school for art, and people might, it might be harder for me to get a job if the degree I was getting, like, because the degree I'm getting is not a design degree. It's not like marketing or whatever. So, so yeah, I continued to work, but it wasn't like terrible. It wasn't too bad. You know, like I got a lot of work done. I really made a lot of work in the studio. So
yeah, I'm glad for that. And you also, you know, you have this way of kind of combining, which we were talking about at the head of the conversation, just combining these graphic design elements, these maybe more commercial elements within the fine art work, like your scarves.
Oh yeah.
Scarves are a really amazing example of a, you know, whatever the viewer / collector chooses to have, both a functional object or a precious object that can be framed in a shadow box, or whatever the case. And I would love to see more of those.
Yeah. Yeah, let me, yeah, so, the scarves are really, they're really a way of me being able to just like freely sketch and just work in whatever style I feel like working in, to make these like functional objects that I can kind of just make and then, you know, like sell and like get rid of, which is really nice. And also within the process, I wanted to just like help people out, and so I give half of the money, or like 2/3 of the money, however many people I'm like deciding to donate to. I split the money evenly. So it's like a really like fun thing, and it's like a way of creating a sustainably like generous practice. So it's something that I plan on continuing to do, like until I guess I don't really feel like making scarves anymore. But
oh no.
We'll see. I don't know. I plan on continuing to make them, but it's like it's a thing where I am going to. Oh, whoops. Oh my gosh, where am I?
Well, I see Beverly's.
No. Oh my
These works you just uploaded an Artfare, and they're exquisite. I love them so much. Those vanishing.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I was really happy to see those. These are fantastic. They're also unique and different. You can see that you're able to work with varying styles, and
yeah. So yeah, it's like a way of me being able to exactly do work with different styles, because I feel like I it's hard to experiment sometimes with other mediums. So this is like a way for me to just kind of go wild.
Are you getting these? I know they're silk, and you're using like steadfast dyes to paint on them, or what are you using to paint on the scarves?
Yeah, I'm using these fabric dyes. I'm using fabric dyes, and I'm also using this like special silk dye.
Yeah.
And I'm just using a paintbrush. So all of them are hand painted. All of them are one of a kind, and
they almost look like batik.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, with that white outline, are you masking it all? Or are you using wax?
Yeah, I use this. It's it's called like a resist.
Sure.
So I use the resist to make outlines with some of them. Yeah. So I made the outline with this one too.
I wonder what the product is. That it's just resist. I wonder what it's made of. How do you wash it out? Is it like water based?
Yeah, you wash it out. Yeah, you just wash it out. Yeah.
Interesting. So it's probably, well, it's a new invention. As someone, I did a ton of batiking years ago. As someone that's done a lot of batiking, I envy the ease to be able to just like wash it out and not have to iron all the wax and then boil it. And
oh no, none of that. no.
It does have that quality, and I'm glad to know. And then this is just a sourcing question. Are you getting these scarves from like jacquard? Are you working with like, they're white and they're already
No, I sew all of them. Yeah, so I get I buy silk wholesale, and then I cut them myself, because I mean, I love scarves. I love scarves so much. That's why I started making these. Yeah. And I've noticed that scarves that are about like 21 by 21 inches are the perfect size. And those are really hard to find sometimes. So I started making my own and just like making them to that size, like very specifically.
Oh my gosh, so these are a steal right now. It's like, the amount of time, and not to mention for a great cause.
Yeah. That's another thing. Like, making art accessible is also really important. Like, I want people to be able to like have access to like my work. And so I've also been applying for just like different grants here and there, so I could like continue making them and continuing to sell them at this price point. So we'll see what happens, but.
The works that, the vanishing ones, I know they're at the end of the presentation. However, they are also scarves, correct?
I guess so, yes. Yeah.
Are they wall hangings or are they?
They're wall hangings. They're wall hangings. I never made them with the intention of wearing them or anybody wearing them. Yeah. So, yeah.
And that's what you're working on right now. Can we see some more of those? I know we got a taste, but.
Oh yeah, let me, so, this is one of them. And then this is it kind of blowing in the wind, just like the way that it acts in the wind is just like, I just love the way that it hangs. It's just so like sexy. It's just so like, I don't know. I just want to, I like it's like the fabric things, the objects themselves are really beautiful, but I'm also just really attracted to the way the fabric moves.
I definitely understand that. It makes a real difficult kind of challenge for the person to, do I frame it? Do I just hang it on my wall like this? What would your intention be? I mean, would you put it behind a shadow box with some plexi, or do you just put it in the wall working with the window open?
uh, I'm not too sure exactly how I would want them to be displayed. I was playing around with this idea of creating kind of like 4 walls of scarves, and then kind of like on pieces of like balsa wood or something, and then in the middle of it having a fan that's blowing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe something like that. I'm not too sure. I don't exactly know. I mean, they look great on the wall, just like hanging there without any wind blowing. But but yeah, I guess
something to think about, I suppose.
Yeah,
I mean, they're what you're gonna do with it as a collector. I saw that there are 700 each.
Yes.
And would you be okay with the collector being like, I'm going to keep this in a shadow box and plexi and in the wall, and then you're also okay with someone buying it and just like boop, boop.
Yeah, the thing is that like it doesn't really matter. Like it doesn't really matter as like why, like once somebody buys a piece of my art, it's really out of my control what they want to do with it. They can set it on fire.
I hope for
it's none of my business.
future of humanity and artists, egos alike, that artists feel the same way. All artists feel the same way. Although there are some artists out there that are very particular about what happens to their work and where it hangs and how it hangs and exactly what hardware to put in the back and framing specs and glazing and mounting and all the things.
I feel like it turns into a collaboration when the collector participates in the installation part of it. So it's fun. It's great.
That is amazing, Dana. Thank you so much. There's a real roll the punches kind of, you got to let it go anyway. It's not yours anymore.
Exactly. I'm very, I feel like, more than going to art school, doing graphic design in school has definitely taught me to like distance myself from the work. Like once it's created, it's not mine once it's out into the world.
Yeah, makes sense.
I accept that, and that's fine. And yeah, it's okay.
So would you please talk a little bit about the representational, it seems like a perfume bottle with a jewel, top, and the graphic elements of the 4 circles with the cross in the center, the plus sign in the center, the colors, the palettes, the process. Is this a photomechanical process that was printed, and it's organza?
Yeah, it's like a chiffon.
Chiffon.
Yeah. Yeah, I like those like semi-transparent materials.
Mm-hmm.
So this is it's a page ad of a Chanel perfume bottle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it's like Chanel number 5. I'm pretty sure that's the one.
Makes a lot of sense.
And in front of it is it's like a blurred picture. Gosh, I can't remember who it was. I choose these pictures because of the ways that just the colors. So in this picture there was a forest green and a pink. I love pink. So the forest green and the pink. So I'm pretty sure it was some like prestigious people from some other country, and there was a woman wearing a pink dress and some sort of man wearing like some military garb. So I took that picture blurred that picture, and I took, using like the eyedropper tool, I took some color samples. I took 4 color samples from that image and put them on the front of, those are the 4 dots. And I added the cross because, so having these 4 dots and cross, it's like printer's marks for like spot printing. It's something that I've seen on cigarette boxes. So I wanted to like signal towards these like mass-produced mechanical processes in this piece.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's digital, it implies that it could be in any form and any place, and it could be reproduced infinitely. And that's something that is very, that's something that's really interesting to be able to continuing to create these objects. But what I really want to do with this is make a program that automatically creates these works. So a program that would choose 2 images, blur one of them, and then take 4 color swatches. So it'd be a thing where it's like you just click a button and these things are just made just automatically.
Have you done coding? I mean, that's like a little machine learning. So you
yeah, it'd be like a coding thing.
And turn it around and boom, bam, got it. Thank you, ma'am. That
yeah.
Well, I suppose you have the data set. I mean, you know what the 4 elements would be for the spotter tool and all this stuff, and then you have
exactly.
the image. Then someone could personalize the image. That would be really sick, dude.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting.
I like the idea. Why did you settle on a perfume bottle? Was that just because of the colors you liked, or the format, or the composition? And I noticed you also kept the text.
Yeah. I mean, Chanel No. 5. I feel like it's very iconic, and also the sharp angles contrasting with the softness of like the blurred image is it was a really good contrast.
Mm-hmm.
So
are you going to take some coding classes soon, or work with?
About that, but I'll definitely talk to some of my friends about trying to figure this out.
Yeah, Pamela Council is just emphasizing that you can, thank you for joining, Pamela. You can do that with Photoshop, just run some actions.
Some actions? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting. I'll try that out. Thanks.
Yeah, and the work that you're creating, I mean, this is new-ish work, is that correct?
Yeah, this is definitely newish work. I think this is work that I did maybe in maybe in February.
Okay.
Yeah, like January, February. Another reason why I started doing this is because I almost got a job where I would have had to travel a lot. So to be able to maintain my art practice, I needed to find a digital way of creating work. And this was a way for me to do that. And then I ended up not getting that job, but well, I got it. It's like a long story. I got it, but then I got another job instead, and it was very interesting. Like basically I missed the phone call of them being like, "You got the job." And I didn't really want the job anyway. It was fine. But yeah, everything worked out in the end. But anyway, yeah, it's newer work. And
yeah, and can you print these in house, or do you you have to produce them with a
I send them out to get printed.
Yeah. And is this currently in an edition? Can you remind me? Because I remember seeing a couple.
It was kind of I only have one of these right now, but it's like I could print more.
Right.
That's the thing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
so different from the painted silk scarves, and also your paintings I would really like to talk about too. I think that they are really harnessing some fantastic palettes, and we kind of skipped over them a little bit for a minute, but those works are kind of like an iconic Dana Robinson um, expression, where these works were also or works similar to these were shown in Untitled Artfare, that very virtual reality
Oh yeah, that
situation.
one. Yeah. Yeah, that was really cool. I wish it was like The Sims though, or like Second Life, and then we could have talked to people on it. Maybe next time.
Hey, if any of the programmers are working on these virtual reality online viewing booths and art fairs, now take it. Dana has many other ideas.
Yeah.
But I wonder, well, I know you showed with Selena's Mountain, and the other gallery's name was
LatchKey.
Latch.
Yeah, LatchKey Gallery.
Yeah, and so you had two galleries showing your work at Untitled at the same time, the
Yeah.
virtual fair.
Yeah.
And how did you like that? How was that for you?
It was really good. I mean, I really liked it. I thought it was great because I really like both of the galleries. And I guess I I feel like I like it a lot. I'm not gonna say no to like any opportunity like that, So it worked out. The works between the two galleries were different.
Yes.
Like they're very very visually different. So I think it worked out well.
Well, there was always something that I talked to my partner about, and the idea and others about this idea of representation and in the gallery world, and certainly in the old boys club, the gallery world, the old school folk that have this staunch kind of loyalty that they expect from their artists, and this understanding of the parameter of which a person is allowed to show their work. So if you have a New York gallery, I'm your New York gallery. If you have, and obviously Artfare is changing the model, but and so is COVID, but this idea of ownership with the artist or representation of the artist always felt so deflated and kind of incongruous to me in relationship to art fairs, because you could be next to a Denver gallery, next to a Shanghai gallery, next to a Cape Town gallery, a Parisian gallery, and you got your New York gallery, and everyone's trying to show Dana Robinson, and so like those boundaries became and have become, especially because of the art fair hoopla, which is way too many fairs, and COVID has thankfully like calmed that. The fact is, it's hard to be, as a gallery, have ownership of an artist in geographical terms when you're going to fairs and making your bread and butter on the fairs, and then you've got other people representing the same artist in that geographical location, like Miami. And, and so it's great you showed the two galleries and Untitled, like an online viewing like experience. It was really wonderful. And then the fact that both galleries had unique works, I think also helps your cause as you are divergent in your practice and different works that you're making. It's a great strategy for an artist to be able to monitor their inventory in relationship to the gallery's collectors and the gallery's style and mission. And I think you did that. I think you did that well.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, it was like an interesting situation where I got like phone calls from both of the galleries like in one night. And I don't know. I mean, is it?
Because
Yeah.
why? Because you sold?
Yeah. Huh?
Because you sold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
So then let's talk a little bit about this work here. You know, you've gotten some really nice angled shots that present the tackiness of the paint and how you're applying, how you're working with the portrait. How and what is your subject matter? Whom are you? Do you know the folks in these portraits, or are you
No.
randomly choosing?
So I work with mostly advertisements. So this one is from a fashion fair ad. I work with a lot of fashion fair ads. So there's like this section in the magazine where there are these before and after pictures of women, like before, where they don't have any makeup on, and there's like these little captions below the pictures where it says like, get rid of your homely look, you know, you don't have to look so drab, just get some fashion fair makeup and you could, you know, look like this beautiful before picture. So I just find that really interesting, because the women, it's like, you know, the before pictures, it's just, you know, their face. And then the after pictures, it's like they kind of have this like kind of like clown, kind of like pancake makeup a lot of the time. So I took the after pictures and I made some prints with them. So I've made 3 of them so far, and they're 18 by 24. And the other ones that I've been working with are, so like this other one, this is from a different advertisement having to do with a hair product, like I think it was like Afro Sheen. I've been working with like a lot of Afro Sheen advertisements, but the smaller works often are these advertisements depicting like scenes with families. Like I made a couple of like fast food restaurants. I made one that was a family at McDonald's, and another one with a family at Burger King, and just like these really just like these really like beautiful scenes. It's like this woman is like obviously holding her baby and smiling, and you know the baby's eating cake. You don't know it's cake, but it's like it's eating cake, and it's just like this really happy moment. And I think that these moments are able to be like more fully seen and experienced by the viewer through the abstraction. So it's
yeah, there are subtle abstractions, certainly kind of out of focus in a way that kind of your viewer may understand that it is. I mean, we always want to see the human body or the human face in a lot of things.
Right? I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're on wood that you stain with you know, just a watery acrylic.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned tackiness, and I really appreciated that PCC said, I'm not so sure who that is, but so said like tackiness. And so what I meant is, you know, just the way that the print happens, you know, the pulling away of the paint and what's sticking and what's not sticking. And maybe talk a little bit more about that process, if you could. You don't need to give away any secrets, but the inspiration as to how you developed this kind of look.
So I mean, I guess I could give you the full story.
We got 5 minutes, so
okay. So I started. It was the summer between like my 2 years at school, and I was like doing nothing like a lot of the summer, just like waking up late, lying around in bed. And one day I was just like, you know what? I really need to go into the studio. I need to make something. I want to make a painting, but I don't want to make a painting. Paintings take too long. So I decided that I was going to do this like color by numbers sort of like way of painting, where I put a transparency down on one of the pages of the magazine. The first one I did was a Haagen-Dazs ad, which I love Haagen-Dazs. I grew up with Haagen-Dazs, and it's interesting to see it inside of ebony, like how like things in ebony are like, you know, things that I have grown up with, like that are symbols of my like, you know, identity and childhood. But anyway, so I put the paint down kind of loosely in trying to make the colors as accurate as possible on the transparency. Then I put the transparency down onto like the panel, and then I pull it away. I kind of press it down and then pull it away. And I'm able to make about, you know, maybe about three prints sometimes. But recently I really just do two. I usually do one on paper and then one on panel. But
and so each is a unique because they are printed from the same piece of.
They're really monoprints. Yeah.
Monoprints, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just it's I guess it's just interesting the way that the way that the paint doesn't want to, the way that the paint acts, because even between colors the paint acts differently. Like sometimes the paint is shiny, sometimes it's super matte, sometimes it's kind of dried out. So it's just really interesting the way that the paint acts on the panel and with like between each print. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's all acrylic, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So it's a fast dry. You got to do it real fast.
Yeah, but there's a lot of paint. So it doesn't dry. It takes like 2 days to dry. I mean, it's not like oils, but you know.
Right.
I've never painted with oils. I don't really know about that. I'm bad with like toxic anything.
Yeah, the texture is just so exquisite. It's so unique. And even the way the movement implies your reveal, how it's like a wave or small ripples in a stream moving towards, you know, one central point. Or I mean, in the texture within the hair feels so intentional, and I know that the color is intentional in the way you're pulling back the poly is, yet the results are just, they feel like this really happy, spontaneous discovery.
Yeah, it was really surprising to figure out that this was something I could do.
Yeah, well, they're just so beautiful. And if you would please stop sharing your screen for just 2 more minutes, then I will ask. I didn't know we've got a couple minutes, and we're just so grateful to have been invited into your studio and to know that you're still making, right? I mean, what is inspiring you right now? We got a 2 minutes left, and I'm just kind of like, last question. What are you doing right now? I mean, you got the scars, you're doing very, you know, activist work for buyers, you know, sharing the proceeds. What's next though?
What is next? Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm making more of these works on panel. Okay, so I've been house sitting. I've been house sitting for my friend, and I've been like watching 90 Day Fiance, like it's about to like go off the air.
Wait, my 13-year-old daughter just was told my wife about that, and I was like,
it's
what?
Amazing.
What is it? It seems so cool. seems so mean.
But also I'm working on an illustration for a magazine right now. A magazine reached out to me, so I'm doing an illustration for them. And then I also did an interview, like a written interview with It's Nice That. It's kind of like this like London-based design.
Love It's Nice That. And I love It's Nice That.
Exactly. When they reached out to me, I was just like, what? Like, this is amazing. I can't believe this. Because I always look at this stuff and I'm like, I should be on there.
That's so cool.
And it's finally happening. So I'm pretty stoked about that. There's a show coming up called Snacks in Sharon, Connecticut at Standard Space that Will Hucknick is curating, and that is I think the 10th or 11th. So that's what's happening.
Fantastic. And that's a great name for a show, by the way, Snacks.
Yeah. Everybody loves snacks.
You know, I really love to close right at 1900, but I do have a question from PCC again, which I think is Pamela Council, but because it's such a good question. She always has such good questions, blink, blink. But if it's not, no worries. It's still a great question, PCC. Are you challenging the ads and your reference material in any way? What's your relationship with nostalgia? It's just a big, heavy, loaded question, but if you could like maybe encapsulate a little bit about that is important. I mean, you know, you've got Ebony, you've got your own self, recognizing things now from Ebony, like how is that working?
I'd say it's a way for me to address my history and I guess like broadly address my history and try to kind of sculpt and change that history to like make like a positive, like exciting future that I want to create. Like I am using like the bricks of the past to create my future with my work.
That's really beautiful. Thank you so much for the conversation.
It was so great.
It's so great. It flew by. I love when conversations fly by.
Yeah, you're a dream to talk to. Yeah, it's such a treat.
I hope everyone else enjoyed it. Next week we have Ruth Freeman, which will also be really exciting to talk and just give to the gab with both of us, and future Thursdays we're going to continue going till indefinite. So I really appreciate folks watching. Anything you missed it's been recorded. We're going to put it on YouTube. Dana, you're a winner. Thank you. I hope to be high-fiving you in the IRL soon, and hopefully we'll make it to Snap.
Yeah, please do. I would love to see you all there. All right, have a good night. Thanks, everybody.
Right. Bye. Bye.